on, everybody? Welcome back to Miles of Horror. I'm your host, Robbie Miles. I appreciate you guys tuning in. If you could hit that like button, please subscribe to my channel. I would appreciate it. The goal is still 200 subscribers by Halloween. I say we can do it, guys. Let's make it happen. I think we're about like 115 right now. We could totally do it. All right, so I appreciate all the love. As we ramp up spooky season, I got videos for ya. And let's get right into tonight's video. Let me just start out by saying I've recorded probably about 4 or 5 videos that I am not able to put out because I've had audio issues, or I left the air conditioner on, or different things are happening. And so I'm still trying to get everything perfect the way I want it. Still figuring out that microphone, man. I can't get it. I had it for one video, I think, and then it dipped out. I gotta figure out the settings. But anyway, tonight's video, I'm talking movies with you guys. I'm talking about a movie from 2011. In my opinion, one of the most underrated horror movies of all time. This movie, when it came out, went largely, I think, unnoticed for the most part because it came out in a very weird year for horror. A very weird time period for horror, this early 2010s.
But her prince falls for the wrong girl and died here in the hotel.
But I will say this, the movie that I'm referring to, that I will share with you in just a moment, is the first movie that kind of altered my top 10 all-time list in a long, long time. Okay, now again, this came out in 2011, so it came out, 13 or so years ago. But when it came out, it had that big of an impact on me, and I loved it that much that it did sneak into my top 10. I'd say it's right outside the top 5. It's in about like the 6, 7 area. But it is so good. I don't hear it get enough love ever. I don't hear people ever put it on like any kind of list. And for me, again, it's in my top 10 all-time favorite movies. So I just wanted to do a video and talk to you guys a little bit about this movie and also why maybe it goes unnoticed, the year it came out, etc. So the movie came out in 2011, but I think in order to really understand that time period, you gotta go back to 2010. Now, this is a mostly down year for horror. Truly, 2011 as well. There were some things that came out, but the movies that were coming out of the horror genre weren't hitting big, and it wasn't your typical normal horror. Let me take you through it. Okay, going back to 2010, these are the big horror movies that came out in 2010. Okay, you had 2001 Maniacs. Okay, that was the second one, 2001 Maniacs, the sequel. And I saw the original one with Robert Englund, and I thought it was a ton of fun. But the second one I did not see, but I can't imagine it got so much love. I'm sure it's a fun movie. You had Black Swan, which was probably the biggest horror movie of that year. But again, I don't even consider Black Swan a horror movie, really. So it's the biggest, like, darkish movie of that year, but I don't even really consider it a horror movie. You had Hatchet 2. You had the I Spit on Your Grave remake, which I know a lot of people like. You had Insidious, which I'd say is probably the most popular horror movie, true horror movie of that year. It had a lot of staying power. I think there's a whole universe that has been built off of that. And I enjoyed Insidious. I thought it was good. You had Let Me In, which is also really good. You had the Nightmare on Elm Street remake with Jackie Earle Haley, I believe that's the name. You had Paranormal Activity 2. You had, the Paranormal Activity movies were definitely gaining some steam and had a big following, but I don't really consider Paranormal Activity, the first one, definitely had its time in the sun, and I really enjoyed it. But to me, it was never a movie that was considered like a great. It was just I think it rose to power and rose to fame because of the other movies that had come out that year. So you had Paranormal Activity 2, you had Piranha 3D. Again, a ton of fun, great fun movie, but it's not a great movie, You had President's Day, which is a fun slasher on a college campus. TerrorVision actually put out a Blu-ray of that I really enjoyed. I own it. Saw 3D. You had Tucker and Dale vs. Evil, and you had The Wolfman, which I actually haven't seen that. So you have a ton of horror movies here that they're just okay, right? It was a very down year for horror. Now, fast forward to 2011. Okay, now listen to the movies that came out in 2011. Okay, I'm going to exclude mine just for a moment. You had Bag of Bones, which is a Stephen King straight to kind of movie, straight to movie or TV situation. You had Final Destination 5, fun movie. You had the Fright Night remake, which I think is vastly underrated. The Fright Night remake was excellent. A lot of fun. Colin Farrell did a great job. You had Hellraiser Revelations. You had Hostel 3, which was fine. You had Human Centipede 2. You had The Innkeepers, Ty West, which I love. Okay, The Innkeepers is a great movie. If you have a chance to watch it, definitely check it out. I do also, mark my words, guys, I do think Second Sight is going to be putting out an edition of The Innkeepers, either Second Sight or Umbrella. I think they have this Ty West love affair going on right now, and I think more and more of his titles are going to be getting that treatment. So keep an eye out for that as well. I also predict that Second Sight will be doing an edition of House of the Devil. You know, I just have this gut feeling. I mentioned it in another one of my videos, but you know, a lot of it's been happening recently where Umbrella is doing a Blu-ray of, you know, they did The Hitcher, right, and then not long later, Second Sight did a 4K, and that the rest of the 4K. So I think that's what's going to happen with House of the Devil. I think since Umbrella just did the Blu-ray, I think Second Sight's going to get the 4K. So be on the lookout for that. You had Scream 4, which I loved, guys. We're going into these 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, you know, movies in the franchise. I'm just going to have a good time, and it's exactly what the Scream sequels have done. They're all so much fun. I love Scream 4. Okay, to me, that's probably my favorite movie outside of my recommendation here of that year. Scream 4 was a blast. Then you had The Tunnel, which I haven't seen, and You're Next, which I know a lot of people love. So yeah, I mean, those are the big horror movies in both 2010 and 2011. Again, not terrible. You had the Fright Night remake, you had Scream 4, you had Hostel 3, you had the Nightmare on Elm Street remake, but really, like, the movies like Human Centipede 2 were the movies getting talked about the most, and it was just a weird time period for horror. There wasn't too much coming out that was like landmark horror. But again, you had those titles like Human Centipede that was dropping and it got people talking. So it was just a weird time for horror. It wasn't necessarily a bad time, just a weird time. And then this movie came out. And if you haven't already guessed it, again, 2011, fantastic, original, fresh, in my top 10. And that is none other than The Cabin in the Woods, guys. Okay? This movie is so underrated, gets no love, at least what I've seen, and it is just fantastic, guys. Cabin in the Woods is right around my 6th or 7th favorite horror movie of all time. So, you know, first of all, it stars Chris Hemsworth, okay? It stars Thor. I mean, right off the rip, what more do you want than it's starring Thor? And as Richard Jenkins, who's the dad from Step Brothers, okay? Failures. Who's phenomenal. Had Bradley Whitford, who's Eric from Billy Madison. Jesse Williams. It had a really great cast. You know, if you haven't seen it, I'm not going to give anything away because it's a movie that you really want to go into blind. But the basic premise of the movie, also that scene with Jules when she's making out with the wolf.
Me? Well, yes, I am new in town. How did you know?
Oh God, it's just so good. So just to give you a brief premise of what it's about, if you have no idea, basically 5 friends go to a remote cabin for the weekend. Someone's uncle lends it to them for the weekend, and they go there, and when they're there, some weird things start happening, pretty standard stuff, and a pack of zombies come, and they have to ward off the zombies. Okay, now, you should know that I've ruined and spoiled nothing. Okay, that is the very basic premise of this movie, and it goes in so many directions for the rest of this movie, I can't even tell you. It is so original, so fresh, and to me, it was a stark reminder, okay, of what fun horror and what original horror looks like. Now, if you know, you know. If you've seen this movie, you know how the insanity that ensues in this movie, and it's not something that it's like, oh, you know, this was done before, I've seen that. it was just completely and utterly fresh and original. And to me, for a movie like that, I love it. And I also, this is one of the movies that really made me fall in love with, like, the horror comedy. You know, Scream is number 2 on my, or 2, maybe 3 on my all-time favorite list. And that was like the original horror comedy for me, you know, when I was 10 years old when it came out. And so I've always kind of liked that horror comedy genre, and Cabin in the Woods falls right into it. And it's got some great cameos. Guys, I don't want to spoil anything because it's so good, but I promise you, go watch Cabin in the Woods and you will absolutely love it. Okay, it is nothing but raw and indie, and it just has this vibe to it that is sensational. Okay, so yeah, Cabin in the Woods is my underrated movie for today. Okay, if you have not seen it, definitely go check it out. I'm still waiting for like some kind of a poster, that a definitive poster art print that I can get for my office, because I love this movie so much. But yeah, thank you guys for hanging out. Go check out Cabin in the Woods, guys. If you have seen it and you feel you're giving it all the love, hit me up in the comments, guys. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you guys do love this movie. I haven't really seen much of that, but I do freaking love this movie, guys. Cabin in the Woods in my top 10 all time. That's all I got for you guys. Miles out. Peace.